Hi beautiful one, welcome home. Today we're going to talk about death, grief, and grieving from a conscious perspective. How do we process our personality structure's reactions to death even though we're perfectly aware that nothing ever actually dies, everything is you, nothing is separate from you, and nothing can be lost. Alright, let's get started. Intro. I was chatting this week with a dear friend of mine who recently found out that someone that she dated several years ago had passed away. And we were talking about death and grief and grieving and how to process this experience. And she suggested that I do a video on grief and grieving. 26 years ago, I was walking through the streets of the East Village in New York with my brothers and sisters in ACT UP, carrying one of our brothers, John Greenberg's dead body in a casket through the streets of New York, beating on drums and chanting and screaming and yelling and grieving and making a political action of his funeral, which is what he had requested of us. I've experienced death a lot in this lifetime and gone to many, many funerals, but this one was completely different from anything I'd ever experienced. It had a very deep tribal feel to it. It gave me a glimpse into what it feels like to be in a real community, a real tribe of people caring for each other from birth to death, and was a powerful outlet for our grief. We carried the casket to Tompkins Square Park, where the lid was opened and anyone and everyone walking by could see his dead body. People gave eulogies and sang songs, and the drag artist John Kelly sang Woodstock by Joni Mitchell. I experienced a lot of death when I was in ACT UP. I had just come out of a failed marriage, moved to New York City by myself, and landed right into the middle of the AIDS crisis. At practically every Monday night meeting, there was an announcement of one or more of our friends who had entered the hospital or passed away. And it was an extremely dark and intense time. Everyone I knew was getting tested for HIV every few months, and praying that we had been careful enough not to contract it. I've experienced death many, many times since that. About 10 years ago in Los Angeles, one of my friends in my Moon Tribe family passed away. None of us really knew how to handle it. It was so quick and unexpected. And it was unbelievably beautiful how our community came together to take care of each other, to grieve our friend together, make sure that we were all comforted and taken care of. It was a truly mind-blowing experience, the amount of love that we all felt. We couldn't believe how much joy came out of this dark, traumatic experience, but it was actually incredibly beautiful. We reminded each other that our friend was fine even though he was gone, and that we had our soul family to take care of each other. And I thought I was good with death. I thought that I had enough of an understanding of it that I could handle the death of a loved one, and know that while I would experience grief, that everything was perfectly fine, and that they had simply transitioned over to another life experience. But then my little sister passed away a few years ago, and as I've mentioned in another video, it completely waylaid me. I thought I was fine for a year after her death, and then suddenly it completely blindsided me, just a wall of grief and despair and longing for her to be back, and an ocean of ego patterns around loss and lack of control. So death, transition from one state of awareness to another, one place to another, one lifetime to another. It's like walking through a doorway. Yet for those who are left behind, there is a period of grief, often which you have very little control over, until you are able to reach a level of acceptance with the experience. And what do I think is the best way to handle processing death and grieving? I think first of all, allow yourself to experience it. personality structure is going to grieve the loss of someone that they loved. Even though you know that nothing ever truly dies, you still experience it as a loss. They're gone. And remind yourself that they aren't actually gone, even though it seems that way. Nothing ever truly is. Nothing is ever truly lost. You are everything. There is only one thing happening here. Nothing can actually go away. It just merely changes form. So it's important to remain present and meditate and stay as clear as you can while allowing yourself to process the emotions that are going to naturally occur. Death is a powerful, powerful teacher. It helps remind us how mortal we are in this experience, how fragile we are, and how at some point we are also going to experience death once again, to step through that doorway into the next life, our state of consciousness. And you can go to the Divine Mother in meditation, specifically the Dark Mother, the dark aspect of the Divine Mother, to learn more about death and dying and the importance of death within this whole reality that we live in. The Dark Mother is the darkness that existed before all of creation, that gave birth to everything and that everything returns back to. She's the darkness of the womb and the darkness of the grave. And she's a powerful, powerful teacher about the transformative nature of death. Remember, we are stardust, we are golden, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Awesome. Thank you for tuning in. I love you very much, and I hope you are having a beautiful day. Peace.